What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are here at Lake Julian Disc Golf Course and we are talking about Formwork. We have putters back out again because these three specific putters told me three different things about my form, because each had to be thrown slightly differently to achieve its maximum potential. And hopefully I'll be able to convey that. These three putters are the Axiom Neutron Soft Proxy, the MVP Plasma Soft Watt, and the Z-Swirl North Coast Luna. The three of these have very similar flight characteristics, and when thrown properly for the disc, they can all fly very similar. However, if you throw them all exactly the same way, you are going to get different flight characteristics. I was trying to get each one of these specific putters for a specific shot, and I was trying to get the same shot out of each of these discs, so I had to vary how I was throwing it depending on which disc I was using. Hopefully I'll be able to show you all that. Let's go ahead and get into it. We started off with the Watt. The Watt is great. It says it's a negative 0.5, whatever that's supposed to mean. It's kind of a -1, maybe a -1.5. It does have a little bit more flip, but it likes to flip to flat if thrown properly. And to throw it properly, it doesn't need a lot of power. It just needs the power imparted right here. It's the pressure of the thumb and the fingers. That pressure right there needs to be about right here, and you need to control the angle of release right there. Nothing else in the throw necessarily matters, and you'll get a good throw. Super straight. And then I switched to the Neutron Soft Proxy. Definitely a little bit less flippy. It had a flip amount that it was going to flip, but to be able to throw this to get the same super straight flight, I had to vary the release angle slightly, and I had to vary the intensity of, and I don't want to get mixed up and call it the hit point, because it's kind of a hit point, but with these putters with the gyro technology, it really feels more like an explosion point, where you're getting there and you're kind of popping out with your fingers. And the Proxy really needs that explosion of the fingers to give it the spin to get it to fly. Very similar shot shape, but instead of just whipping my hand through and focusing on that hit point as I'm whipping through, I'm trying to power that explosive point through with my arm and my wrist. I'm trying to do all of it. Then I picked up a Luna, and I tried to throw that throw with a Luna, and it didn't work out the same, because a Luna, I don't know exactly why it is different. The shapes are slightly different, but I'm not sure why this specific shape functions the way that it does versus the way the other shapes do. However, when you're throwing a Luna, the explosion point and the hit point isn't really right here, because if you do this doesn't have enough weight on the edge to keep it torque resistant enough to keep it from just turning over. So the explosion point is almost from your elbow, which makes a lot of sense, because the people who are really good at throwing the Luna are really good with that very slow controlled, just kind of a whip throw. Good thing I have two Lunas. They're very good with that slow controlled whip, and I try to focus extremely hard on that right there when I'm throwing a Luna, and not this right here. And it ends up fairly similar. Obviously the Luna is a touch more stable when you throw it properly because it's designed to be thrown that way. But when you throw it like you're trying to throw a proxy, it turns into an understable putter. I know this is a lot of information and we're gonna keep working on this. Let's go on to the next tee pad. So while all three are great, since they're going to do different things depending on how you throw them, find the one that works best for you. And it's actually almost worth it to have both, whether or not they're both in your bag at the same time. Have both styles of throw so that, today I'm feeling that explosion point. Let me put the proxy in the bag. I'm not really feeling that today. I need to just kind of whip my arm and not really think about what I'm doing. Super easy throw. Let's throw the Luna. I'm just throwing a little bit soft. The watt's gonna put me to flat. So let's see the watt to flat. Now the proxy to flat. Now the Luna to flat. Why is that? Because I didn't think about it. I can hit this gap 10 times out of 10 with a P2 or a Luna because I can throw it and not think about it. Then I take a disc and I'm trying to control the explosion point into the gap, and you end up with grip locks and tree hits. But you get onto the open, that gyro might do a little bit more to help fight the wind. So let me control that pop exactly where I want it to go. Maybe you're better off in the open with a proxy and in the woods with a Luna, or maybe it's the reverse for you. Maybe just try figuring out what works best for you. And the fact that you can take 3 very similar putters and get 3 different shot shapes, quite incredible. Moved out to hole 12, where we're just gonna throw both the watts, and I'm gonna throw the watt with the Luna style throw, then throw the watt with the watt style throw, and look at if you are able to make minor adjustments even in your throw during the round. You can have the same disc, the same weight, the same plastic, still have different flights. All right, this is what works best for the watt. You hear that nice pop? You don't necessarily get that same sound when you do just kind of the whip from your elbow like you do with a Luna. It basically is a frisbee throw and not a disc golf throw, which is why, which is why it works so much better for the Luna and AVR and P2 than it does for these putters that are flying like mid-ranges, because they have the mid-range weight out dispersed around the rim. Those require just a little bit more intensity and pop in very specific places in the throw that some other putters just don't really care about. Now the proxy is a little different than the watt in that it does fly a little bit more like a putter. So if you just kind of slow flop it up there, it's going to be a very neutral to slightly overstable putter. Whereas if you give it the explosive point, it goes, and it goes really straight and really far. We're going to go explosive point and then the Luna throw, and watch the difference here. Versus the Luna style throw, which probably to the camera looks very similar, but I feel it in a very different place in the throw. Very similar, but for the proxy and for the watt, having that explosive point come through makes the disc more controllable, and puts it further. Let's go see what happens with the Luna though. And please don't take this as you need to go out and buy a Luna or you need to go out and buy a Proxy or a Watt. This is, if you find a disc that works for you, it probably matches your throwing style. And if a disc isn't working for you, it probably doesn't match your throwing style. So you can either do two things. You can do one of two things. You can either just find a disc that matches your throwing style and keep trying new discs, or you can try to change your throwing style to match the disc. And there are pros and cons to both of those. As it is, have fun doing what you love to do. We're gonna throw the Luna first with the power forward like we did with all the other ones, just popping it through the fingers down here. And then we're gonna just pop this up and just kind of like a Frisbee, see what happens. But I've noticed that something about the Luna doesn't like that explosion through the hit point. Okay, maybe that one does. Wow. What happened? Because the first time I threw the Luna, it was flippy on me. Huh. Interesting. Maybe the Luna is just actually a little bit more stable than I was giving it credit for. Or maybe I was just throwing into a headwind. I don't know what was going on, but that didn't do what I expected it to do. Which sometimes happens when you find yourself out here. So I'm going to throw this and try to throw it the same way and see if it does the same thing. No. I guess maybe it works. It's more important to do this with gyroplastic than it is necessarily with the Luna. Maybe I was just having an off day when I first tested the Luna. Interesting. This is all news to me too as well. Finding all this out that, maybe the Luna's not as understable as I gave it credit for. And maybe I've been throwing it wrong. It's a great disc. All of these are great discs, but they all require a little bit more of a precise way to throw them than just your typical run-of-the-mill Frisbee. Hopefully you enjoy content like this. Hopefully you find some of this helpful and possibly instructive. If so, please make sure to like the video. If you want to see new stuff though, make sure to comment all of that down below. Please make sure to subscribe. It helps you guys out with these subscriber-only giveaways. Definitely helps me out as well. And until next time, see you out on the course.